Moonshiners talk about getting around the law with TV show White Lightning, corn liquor, bush whiskey. Whatever name you know it by, moonshine has its roots in Appalachia. With so many legal distilleries distributing across the U.S., you might forget that making this liquor at home is still illegal. You may have seen the hit show Moonshiners on the Discovery Channel. It features two men in Cobb County, Tennessee, who turned their outlaw ways into a celebrity status. You might recognize the faces of Mark Ramsey and his sidekick, Digger Maines. They are the stars of the show. I never thought I'd be in a TV show doing illegal moonshine in the land of Cobb County, Maines said. Maines and Ramsey grew up moonshining, and their relationship with the late Popcorn Sutton landed them a role on the show. It's authentic, Ramsey said. What we do, we can't permit ourselves to be found by the law because it is very much against the law. They start filming in April when the foliage is on the trees. The leaves act as camouflage to their illegal activity. The fact of the matter is when it's on TV, it's already done, Ramsey said. If police aren't involved in the recording process, they can't use that against us because they don't know that that's liquor coming out of the still. Maines said there are far worse things out there than making illegal liquor. As for law enforcement, we don't know where we stand, Maines said. We wonder every day if this is the day they're going to knock on our door. For both of them, the show is a way to share their heritage with the world. It's a heritage we embrace, Maines said. There's no shame in it. Your family worked hard and put food on the table. So, as long as Discovery signs them for another season, you can find these boys in the woods or on TV making moonshine. Ramsey and Maines also work with a legal moonshine distilling company, Sugarland's Distilling Company, in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Moonshiners talk about getting around the law. Behind the scenes of a TV show in the quiet, backwoods hollows of Appalachian mountains, the art of making moonshine has been passed down through generations. From the roaring 1920s, when Prohibition pushed liquor making into the shadows, to today's highly illegal but enduring tradition, moonshiners have found ways to stay one step ahead of the law. But with the advent of reality TV, a new layer of complexity has been added to the game, as moonshiners now find themselves walking a tightrope between staying true to their craft while navigating the limelight of the television screen. The hit show Moonshiners on the Discovery Channel has brought this illicit trade into millions of homes, turning these crafty individuals into stars. But how much of the show is reality, and how much is carefully crafted entertainment? And how do these modern moonshiners continue to outwit the law, all while being filmed for the world to see? The roots of moonshine. Before diving into how moonshiners outsmart the law on a reality TV show, it's important to understand the deep roots of moonshining in American history. In the Appalachian region, moonshine was born out of necessity. During the late 18th century, taxes on alcohol were high, and many poor farmers found themselves unable to afford the taxes on the whiskey they distilled. To avoid these taxes, people started making their own spirits in secret, creating a thriving underground economy. This tradition carried on through the centuries, especially during Prohibition, when the production and sale of alcohol was made illegal in the United States, 1920 to 1933. Moonshiners, often operating in remote locations, became masters of evading law enforcement. They used clever tricks, such as hidden stills in the woods, elaborate networks for transporting the illegal goods, and ever-changing routes to avoid detection. Even after Prohibition ended, moonshine production continued. While the craft still exists today, it's done under a more regulated environment, with licensed distilleries now making legal spirits, but the shadow of the moonshine tradition still lingers in the backwoods of the Appalachian Mountains. Reality TV meets moonshine. With the rise of reality TV in the early 2000s, it was only a matter of time before moonshining caught the eye of producers. In 2011, the Discovery Channel launched Moonshiners, a show that claimed to showcase the lives of modern-day moonshiners in the Appalachian region. The show was an immediate hit, captivating audiences with its thrilling depictions of moonshine operations, near misses with law enforcement, and colorful characters who were seemingly just one step ahead of the authorities. But this new kind of moonshine operation was a far cry from the secretive, underground world of traditional moonshining. The producers of the show, as well as the moonshiners themselves, had to navigate a complex legal landscape. On one hand, the show was a highly entertaining portrayal of a long-held tradition. Still illegal to produce moonshine without the proper licenses. This raised questions. How could the Moonshiners continue to create and sell their product while being filmed for a TV show? Were they really producing illegal alcohol, or was it all for show? The fine line between reality and fiction. To answer these questions, it's essential to understand the blend of fact and fiction that exists on Moonshiners. While the show does portray some aspects of real moonshining, such as the distillation process, the use of stills, and the efforts to evade the law, it's important to note that much of what is shown is dramatized for entertainment value. The producers of Moonshiners have repeatedly stated that they don't encourage or condone illegal activity, and that the distillation process shown on TV is often more of a reenactment rather than a legitimate illegal operation. This is where the Moonshiners themselves get creative in their methods of getting around the law. In the early seasons of the show, many of the characters were shown working with fake or non-functional stills, making it clear that the moonshine they were producing was not for consumption, but for show. In fact, some moonshiners have been very open about the fact that their distillation practices on the show are mostly just for entertainment purposes, and that they adhere to the law in real life. One example is Tim Smith, a central figure on the show, who was initially portrayed as an active moonshiner. In interviews, Tim has admitted that his operations on the show were not necessarily representative of his actual work. While he does have a legitimate distillery business and produces legal moonshine under the brand Climax Moonshine, he has acknowledged that much of his moonshining on the show was simply for dramatic effect. The role of the loath presence of law enforcement on Moonshiners is another key aspect of the show. In real life, Moonshiners must constantly evade authorities to protect their illegal operations, and the show plays this up for dramatic effect. While the moonshiners on Moonshiners are shown making moonshine and avoiding capture, many of the law enforcement agencies involved in the show are aware that the production is fake. In fact, several moonshiners from the show have been arrested in real life for illegal distillation or for violating alcohol-related laws. The show's producers have consistently denied any involvement in these arrests, making it clear that they are separate from the production process. The Moonshiners are essentially performing a balancing act. They are legally distilling on the show, but the fiction of their illegal activities serves as the backbone of the entertainment. Moreover, by appearing on a popular television show, some moonshiners have actually gained a measure of protection from law enforcement. Since the show is well known and broadcasted on a major network, authorities are often less likely to pursue aggressive action against a person appearing on national television. The paradox here is that the Moonshiners, by becoming celebrities in their own right, have created a strange form of legal immunity, not because their activities are legal, but because their fame and the publicity surrounding the show give them a form of protection that regular moonshiners don't have. Creative solutions for staying one step ahead. Though much of what is shown on Moonshiners is scripted or dramatized, real moonshiners continue to find innovative ways to avoid the law. Today's moonshine operations are more high-tech and well thought out than the traditional backwoods methods of the past, While the basic principles of moonshine production, such as using sugar, yeast, and fermentation, haven't changed, the tools used by modern-day moonshiners have become increasingly sophisticated. For example, some moonshiners use mobile distillation units that can be moved easily, allowing them to set up shop in new, hard-to-find locations. Others have adopted more industrial-sized stills that are capable of producing larger quantities of moonshine in a shorter amount of time, which can be more easily concealed in hidden compartments in trucks or trailers. Some moonshiners even use GPS jammers to throw off tracking systems or employ high-tech surveillance to keep an eye on approaching law enforcement. Yet, the ingenuity doesn't stop there. One of the more creative methods employed by moonshiners today is the use of legal loopholes. Many moonshiners have taken advantage of outdated laws or local regulations to avoid being caught. For instance, some states allow small-scale distilling for personal use, and a moonshiner may argue that they are only making alcohol for personal consumption, not for sale. Others exploit agricultural loopholes, growing crops that can be legally distilled into alcohol for use in other products, such as fuel or hand sanitizer, while secretly selling the excess as moonshine. Perhaps the most creative method of